channel, and in succession to the videos what I have been taking up in pharmacology. So in today's video I'll be mainly discussing about the pathways of drug metabolism. So students and viewers, when we look at the pathways of drug metabolism, so in this video we'll be discussing about the very important how the various drugs the pathways, what are the pathways what are involved in drug metabolism. So students and viewers, starting with drug metabolism. Now when we study at what is the meaning of drug metabolism, so it is seen that most of the drugs, they are metabolized where either they are metabolized in the liver. So very importantly, firstly we should get to know the meaning of what is the meaning of the word metabolism. So metabolism comprises the subtotal of the chemical reactions what are occurring in the body. So drug metabolism reactions are grouped into two phases. First, it is the phase 1, which are the non-synthetic reactions, and the next is the phase 2, which are known as the synthetic reactions. So students and viewers, do remember that in drug metabolism there is basically, it is phase 1 type of reactions are there, which are the non-synthetic reactions, and phase 2 it is the synthetic reactions. So drug metabolic reactions, they are divided into two phases. All right. Now, when we look at the phase 1 reactions, so phase 1 reactions what are seen in drug metabolism, that is the non-synthetic reactions. So students and viewers, do remember the non-synthetic reactions, they are called as the phase 1 reactions. And in this category, we have so many reactions such as oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis, cyclization, and decyclization. So very importantly, I would like to discuss that amongst the non-synthetic reactions, there are so many types of reactions. The most common type of drug reaction what is seen, it is the oxidation reaction. Now in oxidation reaction, you all might be knowing that oxidation, it is the process of addition of oxygen or removal of hydrogen. So there are so many drugs, there are most of the drugs, they undergo in the non-synthetic reactions, that is the phase 1. Most of the drugs, they undergo the oxidation reaction where the oxygen is added and hydrogen is being removed. So very important. So it is the most common metabolic reaction. Now moving on to the next type, that is the reduction. So you must have read in chemistry during your plus 12 that reduction reactions are those reactions where addition of hydrogen and removal of oxygen is taking place. So next is the reduction reaction. Third is the hydrolysis. So some of the drugs can also undergo the hydrolysis reactions, and hydrolysis means that something is being broken by water. So hydrolysis reactions, they are also seen in certain classes of drugs. Moving on to the next type, that is the cyclization. So in the cyclization reaction, there are certain linear compounds what are made into cycles. They are given a cyclic form, and there are certain decyclization reactions where certain drugs, the breaking of rings occur, and this is the decyclization reaction. So very importantly, the most common type of the non-synthetic reaction or the phase 1 reaction, it is the oxidation reaction, and the drugs which fall under this category are the phenytoin and the phenobarbital. So phenytoin and the phenobarbital, they mostly are undergoing the process of oxidation, that is the oxidation reactions are being shown by phenytoin as well as phenobarbital. Now moving on to the next type, that is the reduction reaction. So reduction reactions, the in the process of drug metabolism in the non-synthetics phase, the reduction reactions, they are being mostly shown by the chloramphenicol as well as the methadone. Now third, it is the hydrolysis. So hydrolysis, it is breaking down by water. So most of the esters and amides, they undergo this hydrolysis reactions in the phase 1. And moving on to the next, that is cyclization reaction. So in the cyclization reaction, we have the proguanyl. So proguanyl metabolizes in by converting from the linear form to the cyclic form. And moving on to the last but not the least, that is the decyclization reactions. And in the decyclization reaction, we have the phenobarbital and the phenytoin, they undergo decyclization where the breaking of rings occur and they are converted into linear forms. So this was all about the phase 1 or the non-synthetic reactions. So students and viewers, do remember, so at the end of phase 1 reactions, the metabolite may be either active or inactive. So do remember, at the end of the phase 1 reaction, the metabolite can be reactive or it can be, the metabolite can be active or it can be inactive. Now very, very important, there are so many classes of drugs, that in so many classes of drugs, what we find is that the drug, what is there, so there are certain drugs which only pass through the phase 1 reactions. Why? Because they are getting into the ionic form, and these ionic forms, they can be excreted, they can be excreted in the by the phase 1 reactions only. But the phase 2 reactions exist, and these phase 2 reactions, they are the synthetic reactions, and there are certain drugs which undergo the conjugation process. So they are they consist of the synthetic reactions, or the phase 2 reactions consist of the conjugate reactions. Now if in the phase 1 reaction, if in the phase 1 reaction, if it is polar, so after the phase 1 reaction, any of the process, oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis, cyclization or decyclization, if the product what is formed, if in the phase 1 reaction the product what is formed is polar, so it is excreted in urine or bile. Whereas, however, many metabolites what are formed after phase 1, they can be either, or they can be also lipophilic. So these lipophilic compounds, they undergo certain conjugation reactions, and these conjugation reactions, they go subsequent conjugation reactions. For example, they can conjugate with the glucuronic acid, they can get conjugated with the sulfuric acid, they can even get conjugated with the acetic acid or with the amino acids. So, if the phase 1 reaction is polar, it is excreted in urine or bile. But there are certain metabolites, they can be either lipophilic, and these lipophilic compounds, they cannot be excreted in the urine. So firstly, they need to be converted into their ionic forms in order to be excreted. So in the phase 2 reaction, what do we find is that there are certain drugs which are lipophilic, they are non-polar. So during the phase 2 reactions or the synthetic reactions, the conjugation process is going to take place with certain acids such as glucuronic acid, acetic acid, sulfuric acid, even amino acids. These conjugations will take place to get that form of the drug, that lipophilic form of the drug, into the ionic form. So many metabolites which are lipophilic, they even go subsequent conjugation, so that endogenous, with the help of the endogenous substrate such as glucuronic acid, sulfuric acid, acetic acid and amino acids, they, what they do is they become, these lipophilic intermediates, they get conjugated, and after getting conjugated, what happens is they become polar. Now Since after conjugation in the phase 2 or the synthetic reactions, the conjugation process is going to make them polar, so they are usually water soluble and are inactive, and they are excreted in urine. So do remember, there can be certain drugs which very readily get excreted after the synthetic, after the non-synthetic reactions, which pass only through the phase 1. So there can be certain drugs which only undergo the phase 1 reaction and they can get excreted, while there can be certain drugs which have to undergo from the phase 1 reaction, and from the phase 1 reaction, if they are lipophilic, so they need to be conjugated in the phase 2 reaction. So in the phase 2 reaction, if in the phase 1 reaction the metabolite what is formed is the lipophilic one, so these lipophilic compounds, they need to undergo the conjugation reaction, and after getting conjugated they become ionic. So they become polar and usually water soluble, so that they can be excreted in the urine. Now, not all drugs, do remember, this is very, very important, that not all the drugs undergo phase 1 and phase 2 reactions in that order. Very, very important. It is not necessary that all the drugs, firstly, they'll go through the phase 1 reaction and then they will move on to the phase 2 reaction and then ultimately they'll be excreted. It is not so. However, there can be in case of isoniazid. So isoniazid, it is a drug which shows the phase 2 reaction precedes the phase 1 reaction. So do remember, if the drug is isoniazid, so drug the isoniazid which is denoted by INH, in this what do we find is it is a lipophilic compound. So these lipophilic reactions, firstly it shows the phase 2 reactions, that is the conjugation reactions, and later on it shows the phase 1 reaction, and ultimately it is excreted. So very, very important, students and viewers, that is not necessary that all the drugs they are undergoing the phase 1 and phase 2 reactions in that order. There can be certain drugs what in which the phase 2 reactions, they will precede the phase 1 reactions, and ultimately they can be excreted. So now we will look at the gist and the summary of the pathway of drug metabolism. So there can be a certain drug, one class of drug can have the first, how it will be excreted, firstly through the phase 1, then it gets into the phase 2 reaction, and then it can be excreted. There can be a certain drug which only passes through the phase 1 reaction and it gets excreted. There can be another class of drug which only passes through the phase 2 reaction and it can get excreted. Whereas in case of isoniazid, which is an exception, what it does, it firstly undergoes the phase 2 reaction followed by the phase 1 reaction, and then it gets excreted. And there are certain drugs which get excreted in an unchanged form. So students and viewers, this was a very short discussion where I've discussed in simpler terms the pathways of drug metabolism in English. The same video I will be uploading in Hindi for all my viewers who want the same video in Hindi. So stay connected. If you like this video, give this video a thumbs up. And those students who are new to my channel, who haven't subscribed, subscribe, and don't forget to press the bell icon so that you can be further updated for my upcoming videos. Thank you for watching.